Hey everyone, Gino Cuddy here. I decided, because I've been watching a lot of videos by my friend Aaron Pynn lately, and he just released a video stating why physical media is important and why buying it is more important now than ever. And in the context of how he was discussing it in the context of the latest news about the possible merger between either Warner Brothers and Netflix or Warner Brothers and Paramount. And he was discussing, his love of physical media and, some of his favorite titles and why, as a cinephile and as a movie fan, it's now more important than ever to buy up Blu-rays, DVDs, whatever. And, I was sitting there watching this and I was agreeing with a lot of what he was saying. And then he started discussing Westerns and how they're so underrepresented on even physical media and on streaming and whatever. And once he started talking about that, I was like, okay, now you're speaking my language here because it's true. A lot of older westerns, I mean, unless they're spaghetti westerns, which are, still fondly looked back on today, unless they're one of those, um, westerns are highly, highly unrepresented on home video, on streaming, but there are two labels. Actually, I'm going to discuss a third one here too, even though that the title of this video only has two of those labels listed. And those labels are Alpha Video, Grapevine Video, and Sinister Cinema. Now, what are all these labels? Who are they and why should I care about them? Well, Alpha Video is a purveyor of public domain content. I mean, they also do, in all fairness, have licenses to distribute, independently made films and some horror videos with, I believe his name is Dr. Lobo, I think his name is. If I get it wrong, I'll correct it when I post this to YouTube later. But mostly what they're known for is public domain content and, a lot of older content from the silent era, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, a lot of the stuff that I love. And so that out of the way, who's Grapevine Video? Grapevine Video is a distributor that mostly distributes silent films that otherwise wouldn't get released on home video. A lot of titles that just would not get touched by any other higher echelon label like your Kino Lorbers or your Eureka videos or whatever. Grapevine Video does a great job of, releasing a lot of really obscure films that otherwise wouldn't get released at all if it had not been for them. And oftentimes they do come with their own original scores, and that's also a plus. I mean, whereas Alpha Video relies on canned soundtracks, Grapevine actually goes to the extent of getting someone, either Jack Hardy himself, who runs Grapevine Video, or getting, an outside person, like I believe another name that's been tossed around is a Blaine Taylor, who's also done some scores for Grapevine. They get them to come in and compose original scores for a lot of these silent films. And the last label is Sinister Cinema, which is run by Greg Luce, and he offers a wide variety of films, not just limited to the B westerns that I love, but he also sells like horror movies, kung fu films, like any type of a film, like psychotronic cinema. If you're at all a fan of psychotronic cinema, you'd want to go and visit Sinister Cinema. And Greg Luce has been running that company for probably close to 40 years now, and started out in the old VHS days, as did Alpha Video and Grapevine, actually. All these companies started out in the VHS era and have transitioned nicely to the DVD and Blu-ray era. I mean, just to give you an idea of some of these releases, I have some releases from Alpha, Sinister, and Grapevine over here. And let me start off with the Alpha release. Now, I'm going to be candid with you. Not the Alpha Video DVD releases are not restored. Okay? Let's just get that off the table right now. Because these discs go for like around $6 a pop. You know what I mean? And since they go for $6 a pop, you can't really expect digital preservation or restoration of these things. So that's important to note. I don't think you're ever likely going to see a 4K Blu-ray release from an Alpha Video. But what you will get from them is a silent film that otherwise you wouldn't get anywhere else. You wouldn't find this title. I mean, there was, to be clear, on this title, there was a compilation DVD that featured this title in it that was released back in the year 2000, but that is long out of print. So what title am I discussing? I am discussing the William S. Hart film, Hell's Hinges. This film was placed on the National Film Registry, I believe, in the 1990s, as being culturally and historically significant. This is a very important title, very important movie. My friend James, I host a podcast called Heart to Heart, the William S. Hart podcast. And when me, Nick, and Clive discussed Hell's Hinges, we actually had a guest on by the name of James L. Niebuhr. And he noted that, because he's an author who's written over 38 books on classic movies and cinema, and he noted that because he had written the book, the Clint Eastwood films, that this film, Hell's Hinges from 1916, directly inspired the Clint Eastwood film High Plains Drifter. And if you watch them, they're both eerily similar. So that's why the presentation of these films on home media is important, so you can see what came before. Oh, Clint Eastwood was a great cowboy star. But you know who was a great cowboy star before Clint Eastwood and who paved the way for Clint Eastwood? William S. Hart. So, very, very important to, and this is the only DVD on this title. There was purportedly going to be a Blu-ray on this title, but it fell through the cracks and it never happened. I would like to make that happen. I would like to talk with my friend Eric Grayson and see if we can make that happen. But, he's working on thousands of different projects right now, and when the dust settles, I think I'll bring that idea to him. But this is a great movie, fabulous movie with an explosive ending that you wouldn't really expect for a 1916 movie, where William S. Hart literally sets the whole town on fire. Just a brilliant movie where a man, and this is this is a thread through a lot of William S. Hart's films, in that, it's basically about a morally ambiguous man who has a change of heart, after meeting a beautiful woman or converting to religion or both. And this is pretty much the definitive William S. Hart movie. It has every element of his movies in it. So I highly recommend you picking up. I mean, again, this isn't the greatest DVD in the world. I will say that right now. But it is the only DVD of this title currently in print. So we must give Alpha Video credit for releasing this. Because you can't find this title anywhere else. I mean, of course, all the titles that I'm probably discussing today, you could probably find on YouTube or some sort of video website. But if you want to own them physically, you have to buy from people like Alpha Video, because no one else is releasing them. No one else. So that's Hell's Hinges. That's William S. Hart. And I probably have a few more William S. Harts that I'm going to show off in this video. So yeah, this is a great title from Alpha Video, Hell's Hinges, highly recommended. Great movie. And the print isn't too bad on this. It really isn't. So that's Alpha Video, and that's Hell's Hinges, starring the great William S. Hart. Now let's move on to Grapevine Video. I have 2 Blu-ray titles from them, in addition to tons of DVDs from them. And 2 great titles of theirs are these 2. You have Chip of the Flying U, starring Hoot Gibson, and you also have The Great K&A Train Robbery, starring Tom Mix. Now, let me just talk about Chip of the Flying U here, because this is a film I'm really familiar with, and this is also a film that I've shown on my television program, Sunset Cuddy Six Gun Theater. Hoot Gibson was a brilliant star of the screen, a brilliant Western hero. Started out as a rodeo star and made the transition nicely to film, and started out as a stuntman, and then started making some shorts, and then he wound up going over into these Universal features in the silent era. And of course, he made talkies later on, and yada yada yada. But this is a really great film. Chip of the Flying U is a wonderful film released by Grapevine Video, and if you want to see the back of it, this is what the back of it looks like. And this is a great title. The print on this is actually really great, and it looks great on Blu-ray. It's, I believe, a 2K restoration that Grapevine put out. And basically what this film is about, it's about Hoot Gibson, not really keen on the idea of having a female doctor on the range, but he quickly falls in love with her and fakes an injury just to be closer to her, and wild antics ensue, and it's a great movie. And even though, it presents Hoot Gibson as a sort of a sexist character, it was actually written by a woman. A woman by the name of B.M. Bauer wrote the original book of Chip of the Flying U, which was made into a film starring Tom Mix in 1914, was further remade as this film, and then was also further remade as a Johnny Mac Brown vehicle for Universal, I believe, in 1939. So Chip of the Flying U is a fantastic movie and is given a wonderful treatment here. I mean, this is likely, I think, the only Hoot Gibson film that is available on Blu-ray. And it's through the wonderful people at Grapevine Video, Jack and Jason Hardy. And, it's a great title, beautifully presented. I believe it has an original score. Yes, it does. 70 minutes with a music score by Dave Nutston. Original score. I believe it's also color tinted. I remember it being color tinted as well, like night scenes are in blue and everything else. So this is given top tier treatment by Grapevine Video. So if you want to go and pick this up, pick this title up, pick it up via Grapevine Video, or I'll give you another option. If you can't afford the Grapevine Blu-ray, and I know in today's economy it's really rough, paying like almost upwards of like $30 for a movie, but if you can't afford the Grapevine, which is the version that I recommend, but if you can't afford that one, then Alpha Video has also released this on DVD, and their print actually isn't that bad either. So they released this in 2023. Alpha did. And, with Alpha, you get that beautiful cover art. I mean, the Grapevine has great cover art as well, but Alpha really goes the extra mile with their artwork, and I find their artwork to be absolutely splendid, and makes these DVDs highly collectible. So if you can't afford this, get this. Or be an idiot like me and get both of them, because I'm just that much of a fan. So that's Chip of the Flying U, starring Hoot Gibson, a great movie from 1926 that is made available because of the great people at Grapevine Video and or Alpha Video. Now, speaking further on Grapevine, they've also released films that you literally can't find anywhere else. Like, for example, there was a cowboy hero in the 1920s by the name of Fred Church. And he's all but forgotten today, but he was, a cowboy hero in a lot of, let's say, third tier or in a lot of D tier or F tier movies that were made in the silent era, like really low budget movies and made by independent producers who didn't really have a lot of money, but, still went out there and churned out westerns and outdoor pictures. And Fred Church is highlighted in this Grapevine Video release, presenting Vengeance of Hate and Stacked Cards. And Vengeance of Hate was a 1924 reissue of The End of the Circle from 1913. And Stacked Cards is from 1926. I believe Stacked Cards Stacked Cards is presented with a music score by Jack Hardy of Grapevine Video. And so again, you get original scores with these, and the picture quality is pretty good on them. I mean, of course, in Grapevine's catalog, there are some hits and misses, but you do get some great, quality titles by them, and you get some great silent westerns by them that 9 times out of 10 have original scores on them. So that's always an added plus. I think one of my favorite releases of theirs is the William S. Hart film The Bargain from 1914, another film that's on the National Film Registry. Just a great release by them, and they even interject, and this may be sacrilege to some, but some minor sound effects trickled throughout the picture, like of gunshots and everything, and it's great. And the score is wonderful. And that's even noted by my co-host Nick Sheehan, who co-hosts with me the Heart to Heart William S. Hart podcast, which you could find on all podcast platforms everywhere, just a shameless plug. So yeah, Fred Church, a very unknown name in the history of Westerns, unless you're a hardcore fan like me, in which case you take the deep dive and you find, oh, here's a couple of Fred Church films released by Grapevine Video. Vengeance of Hate and Stat Cards. Now these would never sell on a Kino Video or a Eureka Video label, because nobody knows who Fred Church is today except for wackos like me, Western wackos like me, So it's great to have labels like Grapevine Video who are willing to take risks and release these films that otherwise wouldn't get released anywhere. So you got to applaud them for that. And speaking of a film that's really obscure, that nobody has ever released except for Alpha Video, is this film. I believe this is a 1926 film, The Walloping Kid. And it's such an obscure film that this is the only DVD release, and there's not even a poster for this movie. So this is the de facto poster of the movie, is this DVD cover. And this film stars a rather interesting guy by the name of Elia Bullock, billed in this film as Kit Carson. He's that fellow right there. And Elia Bullock was a Cossack soldier who escaped Russia during the Russian Revolution and came to America and became a star in silent westerns under the supervision of one Robert J. Horner. And I've written an article about Robert J. Horner, so please seek that out if you can and brush up on your Robert J. Horner western film history. So The Walloping Kid, while admittedly not the greatest film in the world, is a rather obscure western that, again, Kino Video and Eureka Video would never touch this, because none of these stars in this film are recognizable to anyone, who's a casual fan of silent films. And that's who Kino and these other labels cater to. They cater to like the casual to medium hardcore fans, but like Alpha, they cater to like the really hardcore fans who really know their history, and they released films like The Walloping Kid from 1926. And it's a decent little film, decent little time waster. Nothing too great about it, nothing too terrible about it, but seeing films like The Walloping Kid, or seeing this release from Grapevine Video, Art Accord, who was a Western star, in a film called The White Outlaw from 1929, are really revelations, because for years, whenever people have thought of Robert J. Horner as a horrible filmmaker, they really have only taken his talkies into consideration, instead of actually seeking out his silent films. And when you actually see his silent films, they're actually not that bad. They're not ever going to be on the echelon of, say, a D.W. Griffith film or anything, but they are pretty decent, all things considered. So yeah, The Walloping Kid and The White Outlaw, two films directed by the notorious Robert J. Horner that are available on Alpha Video and Grapevine Video, respectively. And the Grapevine Video of The White Outlaw, not to be confused with this White Outlaw starring Jack Hoxsey. This White Outlaw has a score by David Nudston, only runs 56 minutes, and is a great release to have. Again, very worthwhile to have, original score and everything else. And speaking of that Jack Hoxsey film, here it is. Here's Jack Hoxsey's The White Outlaw from 1925. But at least in the case of this film, This is basically the White Outlaw is a horse instead of a man in this film. And it's a great film. Like if you, I actually wrote a review of this on my blog, Blazing Justice. So if you go and search up my blog, blazingjustice.blogspot.com, you'll find a review of this film. And it's rather a well-worth film, especially if you're a fan of horse-driven westerns. I mean, there is some gratuitous racial content in this film, unfortunately, but otherwise, it's a great movie, you know, and Jack Hoxsey does a wonderful job of emoting and really, you know, driving the point home that, you know, he loves this horse and he needs this horse in his life. So that's the Grapevine video release of The White Outlaw starring Jack Hoxsey, with a score by David Nutston again. And this was directed by Clifford Smith, and I believe this was a Universal film. Another Universal film like Chip of the Flying U. Now, as far as the final label, Sinister Cinema, here is a great release from them of William S. Hart silent films. And Sinister Cinema, again, headed by Greg Luce, brilliant company, just specializing in great, you know, B-westerns, pulp cinema, psychotronic cinema, you name it, he's probably released it. And this release of William S. Hart films is significant because I believe, and this is my own opinion, and you could feel free to disagree if you want to, but the version of William S. Hart's The Toll Gate from 1920, which was a Paramount film, this version of The Toll Gate is superior to the officially licensed restoration that was done by, I believe, Dave Shepard or somebody. The version of The Toll Gate on here is the best. In my opinion, I really do think that it's the best version of that film that's commercially available right now. And it's actually going to be the version that's going to be that we're going to be watching for the Heart to Heart podcast much later on down the line. So the films that you get on here are The Silent Man from 1917, The Square Deal Man, also from 1917, the film that's represented on the cover here, Blue Blazes Rawdon from 1918, and also The Toll Gate from 1920. So, you know, you get like 4 movies on here that are presented quite well, actually, for what you're paying for. And honestly, you know, I've dealt with Greg Luce and the people over there at Sinister Cinema. They couldn't have been nicer to me, you know, and they're just wonderful people to deal with. You know, I think all these people, you know, have been wonderful to deal with. Alpha Video /oldies.com have been wonderful to deal with. Grapevine Video has been wonderful to deal with, and especially Sinister Cinema. All these labels are well worth your time, guys. Like, you know, it's an era of discovery, people. Like, go and search out sinistercinema.com or grapevinevideo.com or oldies.com and really search out these titles because, you know, nobody else is going to be releasing these. You know, I mean, with the possible exception of the William S. Hart films, you know, nobody else is going to be releasing stuff like this. Like, you're never going to see Hoop Gibson film on a Kino video or a Eureka video. Well, I should rephrase that. There was one Hoop Gibson film that was released on, I believe, Eureka video, and that was the first John Ford film that was ever made, which I believe was called Straight Shooting. But other than that, you're never going to see a Hoop Gibson film or a Ken Maynard film or a Tim McCoy or a Buck Jones. You're never going to see a film like that released by a major label. Another label that I do need to give a tip of the hat to is VCI Western Classics, because they're doing a great job in releasing a lot of Buck Jones material, a lot of Red Ryder films starring both Wild Bill Elliott and Alan Rocky Lane. So that's another label. Sadly, I do not have any of their releases, but I do plan on collecting some in the future. But yeah, Grapevine Video, Sinister Cinema, and of course, Alpha Video, all worthy of your time. And just to get on a side rant here, guys, I'm just so sick and tired of hearing people complain about companies like Alpha Video and Grapevine Video and Sinister Cinema and all that, because at least they're out there releasing these films and taking these risks that nobody else is taking. You've got to admire them for that. You know, where else are you going to get a copy of Robert J. Horner's The Walloping Kid? You're not going to find that anywhere else. but an Alpha video release or a Grapevine video release or a Sinister Cinema release. Because who's going to care in 2025 about the director, Robert J. Horner, or even the star, Kit Carson? Who's going to care? People like me will, but will the casual, person just getting their feet wet in silent films, are they going to care? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Unless you're a rabid fan of silent films, I don't think anybody will really care. Which is unfortunate, but this is the type of truth that we're dealing with here, unfortunately. So, yeah, I mean, I want to again thank Aaron Pynn, aka the Cult of Cinema, for inspiring me to make this video, because I believe that these labels are important and well worthy of your time and your money and your purchase, because if they're not going to release them, who else will? That's all I'm going to say, guys. This has been Gino Cuddy, and thank you all for watching.